What's up, YouTube channel? This is Mr. Hoskins here with a Mental Health Monday. And this is actually the first Mental Health Monday on the channel. So, hope you guys enjoy what we're going to be talking about today. So, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to define what mental health is with a Google definition or a Webster's Dictionary definition. And then we're going to go ahead and I'm going to talk through about what I think mental health or how mental health is defined by me through my experiences as a teacher, as a coach, as a mentor, things like that. So, mental health is a person's condition with regard to their psychological and emotional well being. So, right now in history is probably one of the most expressive times or most in your face times about mental health in the history of the world. We've gotten to where the world is a lot safer than it has ever been. We're not fighting wars anymore. People aren't working out on the farm and dying on the farm as they were historically speaking, not being mauled by tigers and all the crazy things that have happened historically speaking. We're sitting here in the middle of a pandemic, and with that, we're still having a safer world than we've ever had before. And so, mental health and today's terms gives us an opportunity in talking about it, gives us an opportunity to look back and just be thankful for where we are in history, that we even have the opportunity to sit and think and contemplate, like, are we psychologically healthy? Because used to be it was, are we physically healthy? Are we physically safe? Are we, like, these things that historically have taken our lives or threatened us are like disappearing. And now we're in an age of, like, wow, now those things are pretty safe. Let's move on to deeper issues that have not historically been able to be talked about. And so for me, mental health and the state of mental health, or having mental health, or what is mental health? Well, to me, mental health is the opportunity to kind of be at peace with the situation that you're in. And mental health is not something that just happens. You may find moments of mental health. You may have, just like, I don't know, it's not something that you were born with or you inherently have. It's influenced by so many factors in your world, and most of those factors being those things that you put yourself around. Like, what are you listening to on a daily basis, whether it be your teacher, your parent, your friends, your family, the news, social media, other people in your classrooms or on your teams, and things like that. But mental health, if you are trying to improve your mental health, those things that we can do are put positive influences in our lives. And so if we're not putting those positive influences in our lives, or we're not being surrounded by them in the physical world, we now thankfully have this thing called the internet to surround ourselves with things from the out in the metaverse, as things are coming out in the ether or the internet. So an opportunity that you have to improve your mental health is to listen to music that maybe is not mentally healthy for others. They do not enjoy the music, but you enjoy the music because as you listen to it, you can really jive with the message. You can really lean into the sound, whether it's the melodies or just the chords of the song or the progressions of the music. And it really, music can kind of play its way into your soul. And so mental health, and then you have like meditations, and you have affirmation statements, and you have all these things that only work. Well, the only thing that works with mental health is actually like practicing these things, figuring them out. Again, if you are putting things in your head or around you that are feeding you negative energy, again, back to your friends at school, if they're just being negative, not necessarily about you, but other people, that negative energy will come back to you. If you're around positive people, then even though you may not believe that oh, it is just to be positive. But if you're around people who are positive with good energy and just have a good vibration, that will exude off onto you. You will be able to be in that moment to have like that good energy. And with that good energy, it's like being around people who have a specific light. Like they're just letting their light shine. They're not bringing out the darkness or putting their inner darkness on you. They're letting the light shine around you. And so going into mental health even further, it really hits me whenever, me here at 30 years old, I've been a teacher. I taught sixth grade for 3.5 years. I've been a college baseball coach for a year and a half. I played college baseball. I was in high school. I have worked at camps with, middle school age kids and younger with sports. And just to see like a lot of times kids, they're kids. A lot of times people are people and they don't, information just comes in and goes out and they roll with the punches. But there are also times where people say hurtful things or failures happen or you stumble and you fall, and then what happens after those moments are super important. And so if we are surrounding ourselves with people who basically are telling you, these are the things. So here are some things that people have told me over the years, and a lot of them are true. So the first and foremost one is, man, I tell myself this all the time, but man, I can't spell. I was a teacher for 3.5 years, and I'm still here trying to educate, some of those kids that I taught, some future generations of kids, and my kids in the future, whenever they get a chance to watch this video. But I am one of the worst spellers or grammatically correct people that you will ever meet in written context or even verbal context. But just because I can't spell or have poor grammar doesn't mean I cannot communicate effectively. If I can communicate through video, and thank God video is becoming a thing, but if I can communicate effectively through video, then you guys can get a connection through this video about the type of people, or a connection with the type of people who carry the same energy or who have the energy that you want to be around. Other things that people have told me in the past, man, you're lazy. Like I'm sitting there playing video games for a mental health day, or I'm really like interested in that video game. And parents come in and tell me that, man, you are being lazy. You're going out and instead of lifting weights or taking batting practice cuts, you're in there playing video games. Man, you're just lazy. You're around, whenever you lose a sporting event or are having bad grades or things like that, and people tell you that you're a loser because you've lost. They tell you that you are not smart because you are not producing high grades in an education system that is not for the production. It's not for these people that are struggling at school. This education system is to fit one type of person, and there are many different types of people out there. You and I, we both might not be able to spell. We both might have played baseball. We both might have done this or that and the other, but we are still individuals, and we have our individual talents and abilities that have been gifted us throughout our lives, whether it's our circumstance or what we were born with, that have given us the qualities that we have now. And so, like other people subjecting their thoughts of you're a loser and their thoughts of you're not smart, I mean, that can be objective. Like, yeah, a baseball game, win, loss. Like if you lose 1-0, you lost the game. But if you are doing the little things that are going to produce more consistent success, then are you somebody who really lost? I mean, I don't know. Like, I know there's going to be a lot of people that think, well, if you lose the game, you lose the game. It doesn't matter how well you played. If you still lost, you didn't play the game right. And I don't know. I mean, that has led to such like a toxic feeling for me with sports and toxic environment that, yes, winning and losing is important and winners win. I get that. But at the same time, like what produces the win and what is considered a win? A win on the scoreboard. But if you go home and you're cussing out your family, you're treating them like trash, like, yeah, you win on the field, but are you a good person? Like, this kind of goes down to, and I know this is all supposed to be about mental health, but winning and losing, like if you come to this world and part of being mentally healthy is being able to produce your own personal definition of what it means to have mental health and what you want your life to look like. And if you are somebody who's trying to conform what you see the world as into what they think you should believe, like, man, if you're not going to be a professional baseball player, then you should never play baseball. That's a waste of time. If you're not going to be a professional video game player, then you should not waste your time playing video games. But that is their hurt or their life that they're trying to put on you. And that is not good for your mental health, to take in all this information from everybody else and to try and conform to what they got going on. What's really good for your mental health is, again, going in and hammering down onto what those things are that are really important to you. What matters most to you? And only you can decide that, whether you're 5 years old, whether you're 30 years old, or whether you're 65, 75, 85 years old. Only you get to decide what matters most to you. And if you are deciding for yourself, now, I'm not saying to just ignore everybody else's opinions. Like, surround yourself with people whose opinions matter, who you think that, man, they're in a position of life that I could learn something from. Maybe then you could ask them, hey, what matters most to you? You take that information in, and as long as those people are somebody who are going to, like, walk alongside of you whenever you are sharing that, man, I'm really struggling with mental health, or whenever they're sharing, hey, this is what winning looks like to me. But just because that's what it looks like to me doesn't mean it has to look like that to you. I mean, straight A's might be a win for a whole lot of people. Yeah, great. You got straight A's. But guess what? Once you get to the workforce, once you get out there in the real world and you start taking lumps, how are you going to feel whenever all you've done is success off of this report card that is, I'm sorry to bring it to you, it's not accurate. If you got a teacher, we're not going to get into teaching today, but ultimately, like, if you can define what it is that you are wanting to do or pursue, if you can take the time and be introspective. It's good to be introspective. We have, again, back to the beginning of the video, we had the opportunity to go back and be safe. We're not in wars. We don't have famines. We don't have animals trying to attack us constantly. We are in a spot to be introspective, to think about, okay, what it is we intentionally want our lives to be like. And guess what? If you're 12 years old, you're going to change. Every year is going to be different. You got hormones, you got all kinds of stuff that's going through your life right now that's going to change between the time you're 12 years old, the 20 years old, by the time you're 30, whenever I'm 30. And guess what? When I'm 40, things are going to change again. Different things are going to be more important to me. And that's okay. One of the most important things about mental health is that change has been perceived so long as a bad thing. Like, I'm getting to be 30. I'm looking back and I'm like, all right, here comes TikTok. Like, here it is. I'm young enough. I'm jive enough. I'm with my students. Like, I'm young and hip. But guess what? There's still things in there that I'm like, I don't know. I'm starting to get that old. But I'm wanting to fight back against this idea that change is a bad thing, because change is the only thing that keeps humans alive. It's the only thing that helps us continue on to the next generation. If we are not going to change, then we are going to go the way of, I don't know, the wooden ship in the shipyard, or the horse and buggy, or I don't know, the BlackBerry. BlackBerry didn't change. You guys, students, may not even know what a BlackBerry is now, or whoever's watching this video may not even know what a BlackBerry is. But if you are not willing to change, then you're not going to be in a spot that is going to be healthy. I don't know. That's a big statement to say. But with all of that being said, like, change is a good thing. And so with that, once you are aware that, hey, you know what? I liked this when I was in middle school. This was a good thing. But now I'm going to be compassionate to that person, who I'm going to be compassionate to myself, to think, you know what? I did what I knew at the time, and now I'm going to change course correct. I'm going to edit and keep pushing on and keep putting one foot in front of the other. And so I know, about 14, 15-minute video here, and it's a ramble sesh. Hopefully this is not a selfish thing, because my goal and my hope is that you can get value from this, that you look at, if you're a student in a middle school, because right now I feel like I'm talking to my former middle school students right here. If there's any value that you can get out of this, it's that, guess what? Whenever you're 30, you still are trying to figure this life thing out. And just because you don't have your life figured out whenever you're in high school or about to graduate high school, or just because, Susie Q says that, oh my gosh, you're not the coolest person in school or whatever. I mean, I can't bring myself to say these derogative, hurtful things that sixth graders and seventh graders and eighth graders say to each other, because I know as a teacher, like, it's not healthy. So all of you, like right now, that are listening to this still, that are middle schooler, know what those hurtful things are, because you've either heard them yourself or you've said them. Now, mental health, again, we're going back to there, and we're going to end there. Mental health is important, and this being a Mental Health Monday, I just want to go ahead and transition over to what has happened over the last couple of days, okay, for me personally. So a story about my mental health, a long story short, is I have made myself to believe that I'm a person who, A, doesn't do what they say they're going to do, and B, who thinks about so many things, like very interested in learning, but not very interested in like actually doing the thing that they learned. And so about 10 days ago, maybe 11 days ago now, I started to do this push-up challenge. It was a 55-day push-up challenge. In my mind, that 55 days needed to be a 55-day consecutive run. Now, in the Challenger, that wasn't a deal for the 55-day Challenger. That was something that I put on. Okay, so did my push-ups 6 days in a row. Did it great. Day 7 comes around, and I remember laying, it was about 9 o'clock at night, and I was like, all right, I can get to that. I still got a couple more hours. I didn't do it. And so I'm like, man, like, here it is. Here's my big opportunity to change, because historically speaking, I would have been upset at myself. I've been thinking, and I still do, like, I'm still thinking this now, but I know that creating this video and putting out the content and talking through it helps me like change my behavior. So day 6, got it done. Day 7, forgot to do it. Day 8, I roll around. I'm like, man, I forgot. I got to restart. Why did I miss a day? God, all the negative energy. I tell myself, like, I become, and a lot of us who struggle with like self-image and self-compassion, like, we are our own worst enemies. Like, I know that as a kid, I tried to say the worst things to myself so that nobody else could hurt me. That's just how it was, because if I could be the most brutal person to myself, nobody could hurt me, only me. And that became like not a great thing, because now at the age of 30, like, it's so hard to get out of those ruts, because I'm my own worst enemy and I'm really good at beating myself up. So day 7 rolls around, don't do the push-ups. You know what? And I sit there and I'm like, okay, here's my opportunity to be a mentor to my students that I've never had the chance to do before, because I got some that are interacting with me on TikTok. I got some that are interacting with me on other social medias. And here's my chance to teach like things that I actually want to teach, like mental health. And so I get in there and it's like, okay, I'm going to take the time and I'm going to explain that this Mr. Hoskins, 6 days, push-ups, boom, does it. Day 7 doesn't do it. Mr. Hoskins would beat himself up, and I do. I still to this day like struggle with, man, why'd you skip that day? Look at you. You shouldn't be sitting around here doing this. You shouldn't be sitting around here doing that, playing video games, doing whatever, because those are things that people told me whenever I was a young kid. And now I'm just telling myself that all the time. And so here it is today, and I'm telling you that earlier this morning, I did my day 1, my reset. My day 1, I did my push-ups. At this point, I don't even remember how many I did, but the point is I was able to do it. And so I got back on the saddle. And I just want you guys to know that whether it takes you 1 minute, whether it takes you 5 minutes, 10 days to get back on the saddle, what's most important is that you put one foot in front of the other, that you have self-compassion to yourself, that you remind yourself who you are, okay? That is very important, because if you forget who you are, if you are remembering that you think you are these things that these other people are telling you, that's not going to be good. We need to find our identities in things that, are unchanging. I'm not going to really get into that right now, but I just want to encourage you that whenever we're finding our identities and all of these other things, like, that's going to screw with our mental health. If we put our identity in who we've been called to be and who we are as the people that we were born to be, then we can lean into that. We can rest in that. We can have peace in that. We can have trust in that. And so reminding myself that, you know what? I have a great opportunity to teach my students that all that matters is, like, you know what? Maybe you scored a 60 on the test. Maybe you just scored a 70. Maybe you got a B in Mr. Hoskins science class. But guess what? You have the opportunity to, if you decide to, get an A in Mr. Hoskins class. That's going to take some things. It's going to take you to study more. It's going to take you to ask Mr. Hoskins some questions. It's going to take you to ask your teacher, hey, what are some strategies that you can help? You mess up on the baseball field. You strike out. What's that going to take? Well, it's going to take you looking up some YouTube videos of some new strategies and tactics to get a better approach in the batter's box. It's going to take you asking people, but I'm not telling you that that's what you want to do. You need to find out for yourself that those things that you are, like, really interested in and really passionate about. Maybe you're playing baseball just because your parents are telling you have to play baseball. But whenever it is that you are doing, that you want to do, that you're excited about doing, that your life is being breathed into you and it's bringing you joy, and then you fail, when that happens, whenever I say fail, whenever you lose, like, it's not a losing mentality. I'm not saying you're a failure, but when you fail, when you make a mistake, when you slip, when you fall, when you spill milk, like I had a video and I'll link it here. When I spill the milk on the floor, what do? Well, you clean it up. You bring the rag, you bring the towel, you examine it. All right, you know what? I'm not going to bring a paper towel, a little napkin from, if you're a teacher, like, you understand that those napkins in the paper towel dispenser are awful. So you're not going to bring that, because you're going to have 50,000 napkins. It's still going to do the job, but you're going to bring the right tool to the equation. So my tool that I brought to the equation was a towel. And so you want to look at what's the best way to change this action to go forward. And you got to be compassionate to yourself. I would say that's the number one action. Okay. So students, we got day one. I got that done. It'll be out on TikTok tomorrow. This video is going to be produced, finished, edited, everything right here by the end of the day. And I just appreciate anybody who took the time to listen to this. I hope that it brought you value, because, and the value is, if the value is this, that you see somebody else that's, that was a teacher that, oh my gosh, teachers are so perfect at everything. Maybe you get to see a real side of what it is to be a teacher. Maybe you get to see a real side of what it is to be an adult who grew up in the video game age, that likes playing video games, but also struggles with, other identity issues. And, hopefully that there's value of maybe connection that you can really think about. Man, that teacher, that crazy guy that was talking with the B on his shirt about the things that he struggled with and the mental health and the issues that we're going through today, like, maybe you connected with that. And I just hope that whatever it is that you connected with, that you can remember that. And I don't even know, I'm really good at rambling on. I just want you guys to know that you're loved, that you're welcome into this community, and that you are wanted, whether you're wanted by your parents, whether it's your friends, whether it's, your teachers in your class. But my hope is that whenever you come to this channel, that you feel like one of my students in the classroom as best as we could through its virtual YouTube stuff, but that you feel loved, welcome, and wanted. That's my goal. That's my hope, that you feel heard, that you feel cared for, and with compassion. And so love to talk to you guys, maybe catch you in the comments below. If anything resonated with you, put it down there in the chat, and we'll talk to you guys later.